All right, we always like to have on our next guest. He certainly brings clarity to cloudy situations, and the spotlight is on Jalen Rose, brought to you by Benzel Bush Motorcar Corp. and Englewood, New Jersey. Jalen, it's Michael Kay and Don LaGreca. How you doing?
My pleasure to be on. Thanks for having me.
Is there any chance that the Knicks make the playoffs?
There is no chance. I always gauge success by realistic expectation. I know Knicks fans get very excited about their team, as do all fan bases. On paper, coming into the season, I had them number 5, obviously behind a healthy Derrick Rose with Chicago, Indiana, the Heat, and I felt like the Nets were going to be a better team on paper. The way they've dropped 16 games under 500 at this point of the season, they don't have the morale to put enough games together in order to be in a position to make the playoffs this year.
And who's to blame? Mike Woodson?
Well, it's a flawed roster to start off. You have the first front court where 4 guys are making $10+ million, all on the same team. Amari, Andrea, Tyson, and Melo. Amari's obviously the lead domino because you signed him because you want him to attract other players. He was able to attract Carmelo, and he's been injured. Tyson has been in and out of the lineup. He's not as active defensively. He's not blocking shots, changing ends of the floor like he was when he won Defensive Player of the Year. And Andrea Bargnani has only shown flashes, and he's not a good defensive player at all. So that's where the team starts, and then everything else really has been a roller coaster ride, kind of similar to signing J.R. Smith in the offseason after he was suspended in the playoffs, suspended at the beginning of the year, and they even chose to sign his brother.
And that came back to bite him. Now, it's almost like a cliche now, Jalen, when people have problems off the field, whether it's or off the court, whether it's health problems with a family member or legal problems, they always say, when you get between the lines, that's the time that you could forget. And I've heard a lot of baseball players say that too. Yesterday, Raymond Felton was horrendous against the Heat. Is it really realistic that you could forget everything that he's going through and perform at a high level?
You can. Athletes are human. They deal with issues in their personal lives, whether it's kids at school, whether it's a domestic scenario with their mate at home, with the coach, their personal health. Regardless of what happens, once you get on the floor, once you get around your team, the thing that makes you a professional is that you're able to block all of that out and focus on one goal, and that's winning and performing at your best. Look at how Kobe Bryant was performing when he had to go back and forth to Denver for court cases, flying the same day, still putting 40-plus points up, as opposed to Tiger Woods. When he had his adversity, he hasn't won a major since.
Now, Carmelo Anthony, does he stay? Does he go? The one thing I don't hear him talking about is not opting out this year and doing it next year. That might help his situation, but do you think he'd be willing to play and risk not getting that big contract waiting till 2015? How
about this? In year 15, 16 of your career, it's much better to be getting $30 million than to be getting bought out. So if I'm Carmelo Anthony, there's no question. Hate it or love it, I'd be a Knick forever. And I know people are going to say, well, it's all about championships, and it's all about him putting himself in a position to win. He thought he was doing that when he left Denver to come to New York. It's very tough. And I know if you're a terrific player that you can find ways to make up the extra year. Dwight Howard decided to do that when he left Los Angeles to go to Houston, but he's a much younger player, and he's a center. And you know all you got to do is be able to walk and chew gum and be a center in the NBA, and you can have a job. So for $30 million, I expect Melo to stay with the Knicks.
See, I agree with you 100%, Jalen. I mean, this is his business. This is how he makes a living. But then you can't be saying publicly it's all about championships, because if you say it's all about championships, then how do you sign with the Knicks?
I agree with you, but it becomes a cliche answer. But most teams that have – the 50% of the teams in the NBA have never won a championship where they are. Most of the championships are by 4 puppeteers, as I call them. Red Auerbach, 16. Phil Jackson, 11, plus 1 as a player. Pat Riley has 9. And then you had Greg Popovich, who has 4. That's about 42 of the 65 total NBA championships. They're not that hard to find. Everybody else is just striving to catch that lightning in the bottle. And unfortunately for Melo and the Knicks fans, they haven't been able to since 1973.
Do you have a problem with Felton playing?
I do not have a problem with them playing. I mean, it's the rule. You have to go by as it relates to the Players Association and the NBA. It could be a tricky situation if you want to suspend them. However, what they should have done and what I would have done, the worst thing about playing on national TV and being Forbes' #1 most expensive team and playing in that New York market is you play national TV games. And all of a sudden, when you're on national TV, your dirty laundry gets aired out a little more. So they had a national TV game last night. They have one tonight. And we have them on ABC this Sunday. So what are we going to be talking about? All of their dysfunction. So if I was a part of their front office, I would have just advised to not play him those couple of games and ease him back into the scenario as opposed to putting him out there last night against the best player in the world in LeBron James and the Miami Heat.